Hey guys, Ryan Fowler with Teresa Kuhn, another fascinating episode of Inner Masculine Live here with Inner Feminine Teresa. How are you doing today, Teresa?
I'm great. Happy post Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, what did you do for Thanksgiving? I didn't get to ask you. There's no Thanksgiving here in Costa Rica, so I work half a day
You did.
and then chill out. What did you do?
I spent some time with some friends, so it was beautiful. And I have a new favorite saying for Thanksgiving.
What's that? Yeah, go for it.
May every day be filled with thanks and giving. May your every day be filled with thanks and giving.
I'm thankful for Teresa.
Ah!
Warm fuzzies. Feel the warm
We
fuzzies.
didn't wish each other happy Thanksgiving yesterday, did we?
Yeah, we must not be that as good of friends as we thought we were. Just kidding.
Or we just take each other for granted.
Yeah, we totally take each other for granted. I'm really just using you, Teresa. I really don't even like you. I just pretend to. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Okay, great show today. We're going to listen to a clip from one of the world's leading neuroscientists. And it's funny because our brain has some things that seem to kind of conflict with each other. And that's kind of the case here because our brain loves the familiarity, but also we are designed to learn and grow. And we can actually, if we're not learning and growing, if we're stagnating, people can actually get kind of depressed, dissatisfied, unhappy. So we're going to dive into all of that. It's pretty fascinating. We're going to watch like a 6-7 minute clip on 1 1/4 speed and just kind of comment on it. She talks about baseline happiness being tied to childhood experiences, which is where we come in. That's all subconscious. So a lot of good things to dive into today. But first, just want to let you guys know I have started a free community. It's called MindChrysalis, and Inner Masculine is rebranding to MindChrysalis. We got the new logo up. I'm getting the animation redesigned. And listen, the content's really staying the same. And just because I am a guy, I'm going to have a man's viewpoint on stuff and maybe lean just a little bit that way. But Teresa balances things out nicely. But you can see here, MindChrysalis, free community, has a ton of content. So we have a classroom here. This is all free here. There's video training on how to act, and there's actually self-hypnosis audio here. There's some worksheets, there's training, and this actually shows you how to reprogram your subconscious mind, which is what I do all the time. I have some interviews with clients, some new ones coming, but I have like 19 client interviews on the video section of YouTube right now. This stuff it's really, really, really powerful. And I did not pull any stops. I put some of my powerful stuff here. I didn't water it down. I do have a paid program that's 10 times bigger, but you have recorded webinars. There's actually another 2 we need to put up here. Webinars that are free. We do webinars twice a month. We have a calendar with webinars, and you can interact with others. And what we're really about is getting your core subconscious identity in tip-top shape, unconditional, where you have just pure, authentic confidence. You believe in your ability. You believe in your value deep down. And yes, you can do that. If you've been struggling with your confidence, your self-belief, feeling you're not good enough, feeling you're inadequate, guess what? You can actually restructure that and put in the best beliefs, and it changes everything. You take off in life once you do that. MindChrysalis is the first step, and honestly, if you put in the effort, it can be a very big step in progressing in your core self-belief. If you don't believe in your ability and value, I mean, you have to get anywhere in life. So that's what we're doing. We can help you with that. So we have this interesting clip today. It's Tali Sharot, Dr. Tali Sharot. She is one of the world's leading neuroscientists. And join MindChrysalis. So right there, boom, go there. Join it. Free community. Tons of resources. No charge for any of it. Webinars twice a month. So let's go ahead and play this clip. Do you have Any comments, anything you like to say before we dive into this, Teresa?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So here we go, rock and roll. Dr. Tali Sharot here. I find this quite interesting and illuminating. So we'll comment as we go along. But yeah, it's about a 7-minute clip. Then we're going to pick it apart. Here we go.
In midlife. So that's really a time where we see the midlife crisis. But one thing that we think is that perhaps this is also a time that you're not progressing as much, right? So kind of in your 20s and so on, you learn a lot, you gain skills, you get to perhaps a good position, and then it's sort of plateauing, right? For a lot of people, it can kind of plateau in midlife. Perhaps they have a good job, right? But they're kind of stuck. They're not really moving as much. They're not learning as much. Less variety, right? Things are a little bit more routine. And that could be one reason why happiness is relatively low in midlife. It's also hard to see like what is next sometimes, right? While you're climbing up, you're kind of, well, this is my goal. But once you get there, it's a little bit disappointing to some extent, even if you've done really well, right? Because as we talked about before, one thing that is really important for our happiness is kind of us believing that we have something to gain, something to go forward to. Now, why does then happiness go back up after midlife?
This is actually tied to dopamine release, by the way. Your brain gets more dopamine when you have something to look forward, to progress towards, to learn, etc. Keep going.
Right? So we don't know, but here's one speculation that at a certain point in time, maybe you're retiring, then actually life changes again, right? In an odd way, there can actually be more variety and change and learning. You need to learn how to live life again with this new context of not going to work every day, and you might make decisions, all sorts of decisions of what to do with your time, which will require you to learn again.
When you get to sort of say 40, 50 years old, you're probably in a relationship.
Which you've been in for a while. Yeah.
There's not that pursuit. Your job, your career, your profession, your identity, your geography, your house, friendship circles are probably all well established at that point. And your hypothesis is that the lack of forward motion and the abundance of routine means that you lose something in life.
Yeah. So things are less new, right?
New.
It's kind of same. Imagine the best day of your life. You wake up in the morning and you eat like the best breakfast that you can think of, right? And then you interact with the people that you love the most, and you go do the best activity, like what you want, and you see your favorite movie. So the whole day is your favorite things. Really great. And then you wake up the next day and you do the same. And then you wake up the next day and you do the same, right? A few weeks in, the best day of your life just doesn't elicit as much joy, right? And also, there's nothing. So even if you're living your absolute best life, if it is the same again and again and again and again,
Groundhog Day,
it will eventually be a little bit even depressing, I would say.
So that's by definition not our best life.
Right. So then it is, what is our best life? So I think when people think about what my best life is, what they're thinking about is, oh, I want that great house, right? I want that great partner. I want money, or, and then you can get all of these things, but if they remain constant, that's just not going to be your best life. And you can engineer this. I mean, even if it's like midlife and everything is set and you're in one house and so on, for example, you can go take a course, learn something new, right? A new field that is not your own. You can go a new sport, right? There's things that you could do, go visit places that you haven't been, try to make connections with people that are a bit different from your regular crowd that you're interacting with. It's a little bit hard to do because it's going to require effort. The easiest thing to do is just continue. Same.
We assume
right?
Easiest thing to do is continue. It will require effort. Teresa, any comments so far? There's a reason I found this really interesting, by the way, because I never had a midlife crisis, and when I look at my life, it kind of explains. I can kind of see why in hindsight. But Teresa, what do you think about this? Can you apply this to your life?
So I'm addicted to the dopamine that I get when I pursue learning and growth and building and relationships. So I've never had a midlife crisis.
Yeah, I never had one either. And I was like, every now and then I wonder, where's my midlife crisis? But it's the same for me. Because I have a job, you have a job, and we're kind of entrepreneurial, right?
Well, we don't have jobs. We
don't have jobs. We work for ourselves. We work for
ourselves. But,
yeah.
And I think, I don't know that this is true for all entrepreneurs, business owners, etc. But I guess it could be true. You could have a midlife. In fact, I know this to be true. There are many, many business owners that I work with that it's Groundhog Day. They're tired of the problems. They're tired of running their business, and they've reached a level of success, and they've stopped learning. They've stopped growing. Their next thing is to sell the business. Can I sell the business for as much as money as I can get so I can live the life that I want? Because they've stopped growing.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and the thing with me, I maybe had a midlife crisis of like 3 months at an extremely low level. I'll tell you what I mean. You know, 11 years ago, I found this self-hypnosis thing. I used to, you know, have manic depression and just anxiety all the time and just low-level bitterness and resentment, like all the time, like every day, feeling not good, fixed it. And then I doubled my income. I actually probably about 2.5 times my income when this happened. And so, you know, in a way, I see it seems like I'm doing great because, you know, all of a sudden it's like, well, I can afford, you know, not like multimillionaire lifestyle, but honestly afford whatever I want. You know, I got the hot sports car, you know, all of that. Live, you know, go to a prime steakhouse anytime I want. Don't worry about the bill, that type of thing. And so really got to live the life I wanted financially. And then I thought, geez, is this all there is? You know, what am I going to do now? Because it's like, you know, it's like, all right, working for myself, you know, making all the money I want, you know, whatever. And then it's like, okay, what's next? Is this all there is? You know, because that was my goal. And I think I had basically achieved my goal. And it's like, now what? You know? Yeah. And if you get into this rut of the same old, you'll listen a little bit later on. This can actually lead to depression. This leads to a midlife crisis. Like, is this all there is? Have you ever felt like that at all at any point in your life? Or were you just always learning and growing? By the way, that did not last long because then I got into hypnosis, all that, but go ahead.
Well, in my marriage, it was like Groundhog Day in my marriage because not to make anyone wrong, but I continued to grow and my ex did not. And that was not, we just weren't compatible in that regard. And so I think there could be parts of your life that you don't feel like Groundhog Day and parts of your life that do. And for someone like me, it's not compatible. I'm not compatible with someone who likes the status quo, that doesn't like adventure, that doesn't like learning and creating and building. And that does take a lot of energy in order to have that kind of lifestyle or that kind of mindset. But that also speaks to health, right? So I think it's really about the whole person. If someone doesn't have the health to support that kind of energy, because it does take energy to create, it does take energy to learn and to grow and to have a vision. I mean, that takes a certain amount of health. And if you're
you're not lounging around.
You're not lounging around, and
you're not on some beach just soaking in the rays doing nothing, you know,
right?
Sipping
and
a
I love
pina
the
colada.
beach, and I love to lounge around, but I also love to create. And if I love to create and I love to build and I don't have the health to support that, guess what? I'm not going to be able to do that. And I could get depressed if that's the case, right? And so my relationship absolutely was like Groundhog Day. And eventually that did not last. 30 years later,
gotcha. Yeah, and I'll tell you what really stuck out, why I chose this clip. I've kind of had this thought in the back of my head, which is like, you know, man, I'm in a field where I actually had this thought not too long ago, and then I came across this clip. I said, you know, I'm in a field where it's constant low level uncertainty, like at a low level, like 2 out of 10 or so, low level uncertainty, low level discomfort, because I am constantly learning and growing. It's like, man, I don't get a break. I just keep going forward. Like, I've had this thought, which is not bad. It has plenty of rewards, but I've always thought, man, because like with my task list, by the way, P-Dubs, welcome to the show. Tim Costello, my good friend, welcome to the show. We'll comment on your comments shortly. But I've kind of had this, I have a task list of things to do, and it seems like I'm always behind on the task list. And I work 50 plus hours a week, always behind. And part of me for a while has thought, man, I just wish I could catch a break. But then I saw this, and the funny thing is I can actually take a break anytime I want to. I can always do that, and sometimes I do. But I saw this clip, and it flipped the script for me. It was like, you know what? I haven't had a midlife crisis. Overall, I am a happy person. I have purpose. My life has meaning. And this, and that's what I had thought before. Man, my life is so great, but I do have this low level uncertainty, a low level discomfort just from constant progress, right? And this clip, I saw it and it made me realize, oh, that's a good thing. This low level uncertainty and discomfort, that is what happens when you're in the learning phase, when you're in the progression phase. Does that make sense? Would you agree, or would you put that differently?
Totally. And there are times that I have too much on my plate and I feel myself overwhelmed, right? And I will naturally back up and regroup. And it might take me a week, it might take me a month, but I'll regroup and it's like I reach a new level, a new plateau, and then I'll sit there for a while. And this happened to me about a couple months ago. And what
happened?
I could tell I was on overwhelm. I had some personal stuff going on, some grief that I had to process. And then I realized, oh, I'm ready for more. And I signed up to take a bunch of courses. And now I'm in the middle of a bunch of courses, and I'm in the middle of just learning and expanding. And now I'm like, wow, I've got a lot of classes that I'm taking right now, and I've got to manage that. And I'm taking my business to another level. And it's just my pattern. It's just how I've always been. And I'm happy. I'm overall really content and happy with my life. And one other thing I'll say, I learned this recently, the definition of burnout.
What's that?
People burn out when they are not seeing any progress in their life. And I think burnout is another form of midlife crisis, right? Where they burned out the wick, the candle in their life, because there's nothing fueling, right? There's no fire going into their life, and they've just burned out with what they're doing. There's no progress. There's nothing new. There's nothing creative. There's nothing.
I have a friend right just like that right now, but keep going, then I'll tell you about him.
Yeah. And I think
his experience, another reason I chose this for today, but keep going.
So midlife crisis, burnout. I mean, it could happen to a teenager. It could happen to a 30-year-old. It could happen to a 90-year-old, right? I think it's just another phrase for the experience of midlife crisis, or the experience of someone not having any new creativity, any new fuel, any new energy going into their life.
Yeah. So I have a friend right now, 8-figure net worth, and not just barely, but well into the 8 figures. And he doesn't have to do anything. He's around, doesn't have to do anything. He, his house is paid for. Sometimes like he sent me photos like, hey, I rented a McLaren for the day and just drove around, but he's actually kind of depressed because his life has no purpose. He's like, I got all the money. What am I going to do? And I want to play this clip, but here's the thing. So I tell people this all the time. Our brain is motivated towards the familiar, away from the unfamiliar. That's an ancient survival program. So part of us wants to find this familiarity because we feel safe. And honestly, this is kind of low level. This is like a 3 out of 10 strength program. But here's the thing, guys. We are wired for progress. And I want to play you this clip briefly to show you this other neuroscientist. This is very, very interesting on, okay, wait, here we go. To kind of really drive down my point. And this has to do with dopamine release, but really much more than that as well. So let me play this and then I'll drive my point home.
Because the ice bath itself evokes dopamine release. A lot of people think, oh, cold water evokes dopamine release. No, pain evokes dopamine release after the pain is over. Just understanding the more friction and pain that you experience,
it's pain, effort, friction. It's all of that.
The greater the dopamine reward you will get later. And that serves as its own amplifier of the whole process of pursuing more dopamine. So the keys are to pursue rewards, but understand that the pursuit is actually the reward if you want to have repeated wins.
Okay, so this is how our body is, this is how our brain is wired, guys. Our brain is designed to help us out. And so when we are in new situations, when we have discomfort, when we have effort, when we have even pain, but as we're working through something, chasing something, pursuing something, our brain gives us a constant increased stream of dopamine that increases. Dopamine doesn't just increase our motivation, which it does. It's our primary motivation chemical that makes us feel motivated, keep moving forward. But dopamine also enhances our ability to learn and acquire new skills. And what this neuroscientist is saying here, Stanford neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman, is pain, effort, constant learning, constant striving. Our brain is literally wired for it. And that's what this other Dr. Tali Sharot is saying. Part of our brain wants to stay safe. But the way to not have the midlife crisis, the way to stay happy and find meaning and purpose in life is to be a learner who's constantly progressing. And making the pursuit its own reward is the best way to live your life. And how do we do that? We find something that gives us meaning and purpose that we love to do, and we keep progressing in that. And hey, if you want to pick up something new, great. I picked up new stuff this year. I moved to Mexico, then Costa Rica, and then, started MindChrysalis, or Intermasculine Becoming MindChrysalis, started the school community. We have the power. We have the power to reach out and expand into the world, learn and grow, and we shouldn't stop ever. Any comments on that, Teresa?
No, that's been my life.
Yeah, any examples you could share from your life?
Oh my gosh, how many? It literally is my life all the time. It's a pattern of learning, acquiring new skills, acquiring new knowledge, having new goals, and then feeling overwhelmed and like having to regroup, because overwhelm comes from, for me, so we're at a foundation, and I love using the analogy of like an office building, right? Or an apartment building. And so I'm at level number 10, and I hit the ceiling, right? Of apartment level number 10, right? Or floor number 10. I hit that ceiling and I'm bored, or I'm not growing. And so I decide I've got an objective. I want to get to level number 12. And how am I going to get to level number 12? I'm going to, have new objectives for my business, or learn new skills, or do a new marketing program, or do a new relationship course. And then I get to level 12. And all of a sudden I'm in new territory. I don't know who I am in level number 12, right?
Totally parallels my life. Totally parallels my life.
Then I'm trying to find the floor, my foundation for level number 12. And there's a bit of overwhelm, and there's a bit of confusion. And who am I in level number 12? And practicing to master level number 12. And then all of a sudden I chill. I find that foundation. I find my floor. I find my bottom. And then I might start to get bored and start saying, well, what do I want next? How am I going to get to the penthouse? Right. And so I start acquiring new skills, and I start looking around, and what are my new objectives? What are my new goals? And what do I need to do to accomplish that? And then I'm like starting over. And sometimes I can progress really quickly on the floors. And other times I'm like chilling in a certain floor for a period of time, trying to find my footing. And that could take, months. It could take a year,
You're
2
still
years,
learning.
or still learning.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
still it's part of progression.
it's part
That's
of,
cool.
and that's how I'm wired. And if I meet somebody who's in floor number 12 and think, oh my gosh, here's a great match, right? Either in business or personal or friendship or whatever it is. And all of a sudden I want to go to floor number 13, 14, or the penthouse, and they don't want to join me.
Yeah.
Then there's a conflict. There's not a match anymore energetically.
Yeah. Now there is effort tied into this. There's like we've been talking about, you can be some discomfort while we are learning, growing, trying new things. When you're learning stuff, you don't, especially just in life. I'm not talking about you go to a college course or a school course. Okay. It's structured, it's laid out, but life more often than not is not like that. So there is a certain level of discomfort inherent in learning and growing in life, a certain level of uncertainty inherent in that. Learn to be totally cool with that, because it really is, it's a sign you're learning and growing, and it really is long-term the most fulfilling, happiest overall life. And we see so many people that, society says I'm just going to get this 9-to-5 job, do this, and my life's all laid out for me, and they end up miserable. Or, they end up in the rat race, but not in a good way, because it's the same grind day after day after day, for them. And we're letting you guys know we're meant to learn and grow. Our brain's actually meant to respond positively to stimulus with dopamine release, with other things of that nature. So moving forward leads to don't be stagnating. You can for a while if you want, but if you are in a loop where you say, hey, I'm in the grind, I'm bored, I'm a little depressed. Later on, we don't have time for it, but this clip, the first clip we showed you, that lady talks about how mental health and depression are tied to just stagnation, to not moving forward. So when you get belief in your ability and value, keep learning, keep growing, make the pursuit the reward. It is its own reward. Learn and grow. So, and that is a key to long-term wins, happiness, success. We'll just comment on some of these. When you're secure, Tim Costello, good friend, you'll find yourself creating challenges because you don't want to be bored. Absolutely. Consistent routines, consistency, to a point, for efficiency, etc.
Structure.
I try to have some structure is good. But let me tell you, when you're learning and growing, there's always going to be a little bit of, you got to have some flexibility in your life, because when you're learning and growing, when you're up leveling in new, and man, entrepreneurship, that's like the most learning and growing. You're constantly coming across stuff you don't know how to handle, and so you have to have flexibility for that. But hey, we're problem solvers. It's all cool. Tim, his comfort zone is being outside of his comfort zone. I don't know if you've ever met Tim Costello. We'll have to set that up one of these times, Teresa. He is a go-getter.
Maybe we could do
we do the Intergrain group on Saturday. We should have you on one of these days.
I've never gotten an invitation. Is it men's only?
Well, not necessarily. It's just you were always with me on Friday. So, but yeah, let's set it up. Brent Caldwell, my good friend. Brent has been going like this. He's been like a rocket on self-progression. The reason people stay small is they feel they're not good enough. They feel they can't up level. They feel they can't get what they want, or they're not allowed to get what they want, or they're not capable. It's all this toxic chain we talk about. But once you believe in yourself, if you believe deep down you're good enough and that you deserve good things and that you can get them, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. Once you get these blockers out of the way, all the reasons not to go and have a great life, once you get that out of the way, you're just going to move forward. And that is the best way to do it. We are wired to learn and grow. Yeah, there's some parts of us want to stay safe. Yes, it is effort, but once you start putting in the effort, the animated Dr. Huberman with the ice bath and all that, it's showing you our brain actually responds and give us like 300% more dopamine, and then it actually is helping us out to move forward, conquer, and kick some ass. So that's our show for today. Any final comments, Teresa? The pursuit is a reward. Jordan, my good friend, thanks for coming on. Any final comments on Tim or anything else? What's that?
Popular today. There's a lot of interaction today. And Tim, I totally get it from the sales perspective. You know, the best salespeople are those that love the chase, right? They love the pursuit. And once the deal is closed, next. It's like slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. And as long in sales, as long as the client feels serviced and loved and supported, then they don't feel that it was a transaction and they don't feel used, right? It's when a salesperson doesn't have that support and that structure to love and service the client that the sales customer feels used. And that's a terrible feeling, right? That's a terrible feeling when you buy something and you're not being, and you feel all this love and all this attention up front, and all of a sudden you close the deal and there was no love and support. You've got to have that structure in place when you're a salesperson. And the best salespeople are the ones that love the pursuit.
And they also choose the best product that helps people that they believe in.
Exactly.
100%. So before we go, Teresa, just quick question. What do you see as being blockers to people learning and growing?
Shame.
What do you think keeps people from doing that?
Shame. Heal the shame that binds you. Because if you're not, if you dealt with the shame, right, then you understand that progress and learning is about failing forward. But if you're stuck in the toxic shame, you're going to act in a way.
Failing hurts then.
Failure hurts and you take it personally. And it's very, very tough to get past it, right? And you start blaming yourself and you start spiraling into the vortex of depression and you're not good enough and all the stuff that comes up that you deal so beautifully with. That's why the work that you do is so important to release those blocks. So it's like, you know what? I love myself. I'm human. I'm a soul having a human experience. And part of having this human experience is being rejected or learning or failing or not doing things perfectly, because there is no such thing as perfection. That is the biggest lie out there.
Yeah, it's constant progress, and there's always something to work on, and everyone is able to improve their lives in some way all the time.
Yeah.
If anyone watching this, if you guys struggle with, guys, gals, everyone, struggle with lack of self-belief, you don't believe in your ability, you don't believe in your value, you don't believe you're good enough, and you're stuck in this routine where your fear of failure or whatever keeps you from moving forward, if you have these internal blockers, guess what? Right there's resources that actually help you get unstuck. I have an ebook, How Your Subconscious Works and Why It Keeps You Stuck. It's designed so you can understand, and then there's resources to actually help you get unstuck, because 95% of our behavior is dictated by our subconscious. Just Google it. What percent of our behavior is directed by our subconscious mind? Just Google it. All the neuroscientists, they all know this. Is well established for decades. We have tools to fix that part of your subconscious, get you unstuck, so that you can live this life of constant progress, which is a life of fulfillment, purpose, and happiness. And guess what? You can, if you're stuck now, you can absolutely get unstuck. And then you can move down that path and have repeated wins. And there's going to be failures along the way too. That's okay. That is part of the learning process. When you learn from your failures, that's its own kind of win. So that's our show for today. You have more power than you know. You can move forward. Thanks for watching. You have more power than you know.